Sat Naam, yogis and yoginis, hello and welcome back. Today I'm gonna do a little stream from the park. This is a lovely park near, more or less near where I live. And as I mentioned, my daughters are on holidays now, so I have to stream whenever I can. And they are playing over there. And I'll take the opportunity to talk about Sat Naam. I was reflecting upon the sound, the meaning of sounds related to the numbers, and we did a video on number 1 on the sound ST, and we were talking about how the ST sounds are very connected to 1, and the 1 is very stable and static and steady and still and all those things, strong. And I was considering that ST is a combination of two sounds, the S and the T, and the S is a sound of the Kundalini. We did a special on the S when we were talking on the workshop for mantras, and we did another one when in the Yoga Sutras, the episode when we talked about Samadhi. Yeah, the special S of Samadhi is connected to the Kundalini. So the S sound is the sound of a snake, and that's coiled around the base of the spine. And the T sound is a sound that shows some movement. Yeah. And vertical, especially vertical movement, and you can see it even in the shape of the letter. How we write T is almost like an arrow pointing up, and so S with a T is something that is straight, and steady, but like straight. So it's the one from the base of the spine. We have the S sound and the Kundalini, and when we look at the Sanskrit alphabet, which we have chanted quite a bit in this channel, and we are chanting through the chakras, and we are doing kakha gaganga, cha cha jajanya, tartaradana. Yeah, so here is where the T is. Both T's are kind of between the chest and the solar plexus. So the T sound, as I mentioned, is vertical, but it's also closely connected to the heart. So as we go down in the chakras, when we get to the first chakra, then we have Sya, Sha, Sa, Ham. Yeah, these are the 4 sounds that we vibrate with the first chakra. But by the way, let me just mention another thing that was a comment in a video. It was a very recent comment in a video that one of the viewers was mentioning how they had a teacher who was coming to visit them and taught them how to breathe through, to activate the first chakra breathing. And I think it was rising through the spine, inhaling, and then down the spine, and they were chanting Vam. And they were asking, well, why Vam if the first chakra's bija sound is Lam? But if you look at the petals, it's Sya, Sha, Sa, Vam. These are the 4 petals, and some people actually chant like the 4 sounds they associated to the first chakra. Hello. My girls are just checking on me. So some people will chant those 4 petals to vibrate on the first chakra. However, the actual bija sound for the first chakra, that's Lam, definitely. But yeah, S, Sh, Sa, and also Vam, it's associated to the petals. Now, these 3 S sounds, S, and Sh sounds, they are again connected to the snake, and the snake is coiled from the base chakra, so kind of coiled around the base. It's not just the first chakra, it's between the first and the third. Sorry, I'm moving a lot. And but yeah, those are associated to that region, the base of the spine. So the snake is in the base of the spine. That's the sound of the S, and the T sound is pointing upwards. Though that's why the S with the T, we are still in number 1 in the numbers. I'm trying to connect numbers and body and sound, connecting all of this together. It's very much, ST sound is very much connected to the first chakra, but for example, the stoic or steady or still or steady or strong, these are very much associated to number 1. But I mentioned how number 1 and number 4 connect very well together, and so when we talk about commitment, this is the last video we did on the number 1. when we commit, we have to commit about what? Commit what? No, when we're serving what or who? So there is the 4 of the commitment and the service, and the 1 of the what. So the 4 and the 1 are very much connected, and you can see most of that, especially on the sounds S and T. Now the sound Sat is S and T with a vowel in between. I mean, the appearance of a vowel or not, that depends a lot on the language anyway, because if we look at, for example, other languages, the combination of S and T together without anything in between is not so common. So if we look at words like stable, for example, in Spanish, in Spanish it works because it's estable. It's still the S is close to the T, but in some other words you will find a vowel in between. However, if we look at it in English, stable, steady, still, this is very much associated to the 1, but when we look at the word Sat, then that vowel gives this little breath in between and kind of gives a different emphasis. And that's why I was mentioning how the T has a different character, right? So if the S is more associated to the base of the spine because of the Kundalini, there's the serpent energy, the snake energy, then the T is pointing upwards towards the heart. And you could see the S in the base, you could do the T towards the heart, and the T would vibrate in the heart. From what we know from mantra yoga, the T is in the heart, the 4th chakra, and the S is in the 1st chakra. So that's very interesting that Sat, the word Sat, is pointing up, is coming up towards the heart. And why is it interesting? Because when we are doing a yoga class, one of the things that we often talk about is how important it is to keep a mantra with your breath. And you can use any mantra for your breath, and you could even use an affirmation to set up in your breath. But the one that is going to be like a universal one that works for everybody, and that's the one we use in the yoga class, in the Kundalini yoga class, that's Sat Naam. We use Sat Naam with the breath. So when we are going to a class, if you come to a class and you've never been to, one of the things that will surprise you is that you spend all the time inhaling Sat, exhaling Nam, and there's a lot of emphasis on that. And I would say that it's not just about inhaling Sat and exhaling Nam, but it's about the movement of the energy within you. So what I'm pointing out is that the sound Sat not only is an inhale, but it's actually a rising of the energy from the base of the spine, at least to the heart. Yeah, so Sat, even though when we are inhaling, we are raising the consciousness up to the crown, so we would say Sat. The T is pointing up, but it doesn't have to stop in the heart, even though the quality of number 4 is also stopping. Yeah, and the very word stop, ST, is another ST sound. But we would say like inhale, and you're raising the breath towards the crown, just like you want the Kundalini to raise, just like you want the consciousness to raise. So that's an interesting connection when you look at the mantra, the sounds, and the position in the body, when you look at the sounds and the numbers all connected. And that's Sat. Sat meaning reality or truth, and your true essence. Yeah, the Nam would be like your identity or your essence. But if you're looking at your truth, your reality, that's something that you experience through the heart. And your reality is also, there's another connection of reality to the word royal. The real and the royal is connected. In Spanish, it's even the same word, real. And one of the things we talk about yoga is that Kundalini yoga is a kind of Raja yoga, it's the yoga of kings and queens. That's why also when we are giving a spiritual name, is like, I don't know, Snatam Kaur, it's a very famous singer. Snatam Kaur means princess because she can be like a queen. But in order to become the queen or the king, you have to crown yourself. You cannot wait for somebody to initiate you. This kind of yoga that we practice is to wait for, it's not about waiting for others to initiate you, but you initiate yourself. So this is what we call the path of self-initiation. And you initiate yourself how? It's by crowning yourself. How do you crown yourself? The crown is here. It's by raising your kundalini to the crown. So that's the language that we use about this, the queen and the king and the royal blood inside, yeah, the royal spirit. That's about crowning yourself. So I feel like I'm speaking very fast and going a little bit quick. That's my Spanish blood, because I was speaking Spanish to my daughters, and I'm a little bit. I started a little bit quick. Let me slow down a little bit. So the Sat is connected to royalty, reality. If you want to experience and to realize your reality, your self-realization, right? That is connected to the rising of consciousness and the rising of Kundalini energy through the spine. And it goes through the heart, but it reaches the crown chakra. All right. Now, when you put the crown on top, I'm associating many things now, but as you put the crown, you are standing tall. Standing, yeah, ST again, and tall, the T sound is very strong. And that is when you are standing tall, when the crown is on your head, the Jalandhara Bandha is going to be in effect automatically. Even Mul Bandha is going to be active, because you want to keep the straight ST posture, the straight spine. So these sounds are pointing out to, it's interesting, intuitively we have been given these words, these sounds, to mean those things. But they are intuitively, we chose those sounds because that's what they mean, that's what we are looking for, the straightness of the spine, yeah, standing tall. So this is associated to this crowning yourself. So that's a lot about Sat, reality and realization and self-realization. And it's about bringing the energy to the crown, which sometimes we talked about how that's not the end of the journey. That's the merging of Shiva and Shakti. That's the first step. But and it can be an enlightenment, because there's light when you reach the crown. But that is not a liberation. The final liberation comes from coming down, back down to the heart. And we talked about this in the Yoga Sutras through some passages where Patanjali mentions how this is not the end, it's just the rising. There was a lot of things about this. But we talked about this also in the Mul Mantra, how when you get to Jap, which is the Guru Prasad Jap, yeah, the 11th and 12th syllables or words of the Mul Mantra, then there's still a little bit, At Sat Jugat Sat Heavy Sat Sat, which is coming back down into the heart. That's when we were doing the Mul Mantra course. I'm connecting things to other videos that we did in the channel to connect what we are talking about now. Now, in yoga practice, it's very common. As you inhale, you raise the breath and the consciousness to the crown, and as you exhale, you come down. Now, I mentioned how Sat is connected to the rising. Let's talk about Nam, how it's connected to the coming down. And yes, Sat is, in Spanish we say sí, it's like yes. Nam is like no, yeah. So Sat is like sí, Nam is like no, and it's like yes and no. So you can see like the polarities of going up and down, or sí, no. Yeah, it's like inhaling is like saying sí to life and to the breath and to prana, and exhaling is like saying no, like letting go. Yeah, and it's also interesting, this polarity. In the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali talks a lot about this vairagya, yeah, and abhyasa. Abhyasa would be the yes, abhyasa, yeah, sí. Abhyasa is the holding on, the steady, the practice, the commitment, the self-initiation, and the keep up, and then let go. Yeah, the vairagya is the let it go, yeah. So very interesting that there is these two aspects, and within the sound Sat Naam, even if it's similar to in the Spanish saying sí and no, like positive and negative, it's already kind of showing that. Let's look at the sounds. We mentioned how the T sound appears in the Anahata chakra, the chakra of the heart. When in the petals appears this T sound, and Well, in the petals, how is it? It's not exactly in the petals because, okay, I'm a little bit confusing things now, because I mentioned in the video on the mantras that the fifth chakra is the one that contains the vowels, and then as we go down, the fourth chakra then starts with the kaka, ganga, and all that. But I don't really associate every sound to the petals. I mean, the sounds that are in the petals specifically only to that chakra, because that would mean that only the higher chakras have more vibrations than the lower ones. And intuitively and experientially, it doesn't feel like that. But rather that there is a sound that, I mean, as we go down into the body, the vibration that is happening there is similar to as we go forward in the mouth. And if we associate both the shape of the mouth and the way we pronounce the sound in the mouth and what happens in the body, then we find that the sound T's, the TTT, is between the heart and the solar plexus. It's a little bit maybe confusing the way I said it at the beginning, but if you want more details on this, you can watch the mantra course where we go in detail on every sound, and that's where I go in much more clearly why the T vibrates between the heart and the solar plexus. So sat, yeah, rises, and then nam, na is a sound that also appears between the heart and the solar plexus. In the different letters of the Devanagari alphabet, the Sanskrit alphabet, that would be tatha dadhana. Yeah, tatha dadhana, tatha dadhana. So the T and the N correspond to the same region, the region of the heart, around the heart. So we did a sat that rises from the base of the spine to the heart. And then nam, na, starts from here, starts also from the heart and solar plexus. But na is saying no. So now is no and is down. Even the sound of the n at the end of down, yeah? Down is going down. And where does it go down to? Well, in the mantra, Sat Naam, ma, that's the sound of mother. And the mother is the belly, yeah, is associated to the sound on the belly. The belly is where the baby is held for 9 months, and the belly hears the sound ma vibrating very strongly there. That's why when babies are born, the first sounds they do is mama, mama, papa, baba, which are the sounds that vibrate around that region. And so ma of Sat Naam, yeah, ma, is a vibration that goes down to the first cave in the body, yeah, the area around the first and second, the second chakra, but around, between the first and the third, which is the cave where the Kundalini lives. So the Kundalini wakes up, rises, and then goes down back into its cave. So very interesting, yeah, the Sat, Sa is in the root, T pointing up towards the heart, and I would say even higher, go up to the crown as you inhale, and Nam, Na, saying no, letting go, exhaling, down, 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 back into the first cave, the place where the baby sleeps, yeah, your inner baby. So it's like Sat and Nam, and that's the association. So very interesting how they connect in that way. So it makes sense that we would repeat so much in the yoga class the breath and the Sat Naam. But knowing this is not just about repeating Sat Naam or chanting the inhaling Sat and exhaling Naam, but also about rising and descending. Yeah, it's about ascending and descending, and you can feel it within yourself. This is a very common and ancient practice of yoga, inhaling and rising the energy through the spine to the crown, and exhaling and down through the spine to the bottom. It's not just for yoga. I've learned this from Kung Fu as well, and other practices of energetic practices like healing. So it's a very common thing, and that's because that's a common experience. It's a universal experience. So therefore, yoga codifies it in a very specific way, very specific exercises, but it's a common experience to all humans, and that's why it will appear in different roots as well, in different traditions, even though all these traditions are many of these traditions are connected as well. So we cannot separate Kung Fu from yoga in a way, because they have a common origin as well. No, I believe that the Buddhists from India arrived to China and they influenced they brought a spiritual component that then influenced the martial arts aspect. I think it was something like that. I don't know much about this, but I believe that it was a strong influence like that. So these things are connected, and it makes sense that when they meditate, they will also do that, inhaling, raising the energy through the spine and to the crown, and exhaling from the crown down to the ground or down to the base again. So there we go. That is the connection between the sounds and the numbers and the parts of the body, and hope it brings another dimension to the practice. And I encourage everyone to practice it in the meditation, inhaling Sat and exhaling Nam. Thank you very much. And I don't know when I will be able to do the next video, but it may be spontaneous like this. In the moment when I can, I do a little short 20-minute video. Short for me, it's good for YouTube, but for me, generally I do 1 hour, so this is a little bit short. But until next time, thank you for watching, and Sat Nam.